The stars looked different when you knew someone was watching back. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth defense vessel Horizon and stared at the view screen showing the approaching alien ship. 3 days ago, humanity had been alone in the universe. Now everything had changed. The communication came exactly at 0800 hours, just like any other routine transmission, except this one carried voices from another world. Ambassador Zethka of the Vrelian Confederation had spoken in perfect English, explaining that his people had been monitoring human radio signals for decades and wanted to welcome Earth into the galactic community. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the message display again. The alien ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of their largest space station. Its design was elegant, with smooth curves and a pearl-white hull that seemed to glow with its own light. Nothing like the angular, practical human ships with their exposed engines and weapon systems. Dr. Lisa Grant entered the bridge carrying her tablet and a steaming cup of coffee. As Earth's lead xenobiologist, she had been working around the clock since first contact. Her usually neat brown hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and dark circles showed under her green eyes. "Any word from New Geneva Station?" Jake asked without turning from the view screen. "The diplomatic team is ready," Lisa replied, settling into the chair next to him. "Though I have to admit we're all making this up as we go along." "Nobody expected aliens to be so friendly right from the start," Jake nodded. "In all the movies and books, first contact was either terrifying or took years of careful communication." The Vrelians had simply introduced themselves, explained they were peaceful traders, and asked permission to send a delegation to Earth. It almost seemed too easy. "Captain Morrison," came the voice of Communications Officer Dan Phillips from his station. "We're receiving another transmission from the Vrelian vessel." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the face of Ambassador Zethka. The alien looked remarkably humanoid, with pale blue skin, large dark eyes, and what appeared to be gills along his neck. He wore simple robes in shades of silver and blue, and when he smiled, his teeth were small and perfectly white. "Greetings, Captain Morrison," Zethka said in his melodic voice. "I hope we have not caused too much disruption to your daily routines. My aide Plixvor and I are quite excited to meet with your people face to face." "The pleasure is ours, Ambassador," Jake replied. "We've prepared a landing site at Edwards Air Force Base in California. Our teams are ready to receive you whenever you're prepared to visit." Zethka's expression shifted slightly, and he glanced at something off-screen before responding. "Ah yes, about that. We have reviewed your planetary data and have some concerns about landing directly on your world's surface. The atmospheric readings are quite unusual, and the gravitational measurements are significantly higher than what our species considers safe." Lisa leaned forward in her chair. This was the first sign that things might not be as simple as they seemed. "Ambassador, what exactly do you mean by unsafe?" "Well, Dr. Grant," Zethka said, apparently recognizing her from the files they had exchanged. "Your atmosphere contains over 20% oxygen, which is a highly reactive and dangerous gas. Most civilized worlds maintain oxygen levels below 5%. Additionally, your planet's gravity is nearly 3 times what we experience on our homeworld. We will, of course, bring appropriate protective equipment." Jake and Lisa exchanged glances. They had never thought of Earth's atmosphere as dangerous. To humans, oxygen was simply what they breathed. The idea that aliens might find their normal environment toxic was unsettling. "We understand your concerns," Jake said carefully. "Please take whatever precautions you need. We want this meeting to be safe for everyone involved." "Thank you for your understanding," Zethka replied. "We have encountered 43 different species in our travels, and each first contact teaches us something new. Your species appears to be quite remarkable, based on your cultural transmissions. We look forward to learning about your peaceful civilization." After the transmission ended, Lisa stood up and began pacing across the bridge. "Jake, did you catch what he said about 43 different species?" "These aliens are experienced at this. They've done first contact dozens of times." "Which means they know what they're doing," Jake replied. "That should make things easier, right?" Lisa stopped pacing and looked at him with a worried expression. "Or it means they have expectations about how this should go. What if we don't fit their pattern for new civilizations?" Before Jake could respond, the proximity alarms began sounding. On the view screen, they could see a small shuttle separating from the main Vrelian ship. It was sleek and silver, moving with perfect precision toward Earth's atmosphere. Incoming transmission from the shuttle, Dan announced. This is Ambassador Zethka requesting permission to begin our descent to your landing facility, came the alien's voice over the speakers. Jake activated his communicator. Edwards Base, this is Captain Morrison. Our guests are beginning their approach. Is everything ready? Ready as we'll ever be, Captain, came the reply from Colonel Rick Barnes, who was overseeing security at the landing site. Dr. Amanda Cole has the welcome ceremony prepared, and our medical teams are standing by in case the aliens need assistance with our atmosphere. Jake looked at Lisa, who was checking something on her tablet. What are you reading? I'm going through their ship's sensor data that they shared with us, she said, frowning at the screen. Jake, they're treating this landing like it's an expedition to a hostile environment. Their shuttle is equipped with environmental suits rated for what they call extreme conditions. Maybe they're just being careful, Jake suggested, though he was starting to feel uneasy. Or maybe, Lisa said quietly, they know something about our planet that we don't. She pulled up a communication window and began typing a message to send to the landing team. Jake watched over her shoulder as she wrote, Dear aliens, welcome to what we call Earth. We're sorry in advance for what you're about to experience. Lisa, what are you doing? Jake asked. Preparing them, she replied, hitting the send button, because I have a feeling that no matter how experienced these aliens think they are, nothing has prepared them for humanity. On the view screen, the Vrelian shuttle continued its descent toward Earth, carrying two beings who believed they were about to conduct a routine first contact with a primitive but peaceful species. They had no idea they were about to land on what the galaxy would soon learn to call a Deathworld, inhabited by the most dangerous species anyone had ever encountered. Jake watched the shuttle disappear into Earth's atmosphere and wondered if this was the beginning of a beautiful friendship or the start of something much more complicated. Either way, humanity was about to make quite an impression on the galactic community. The Vrelian shuttle shook violently as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Inside the cramped cabin, Ambassador Zethka gripped his safety harness while his aide Plix Vor checked their environmental suits for the third time. The shuttle's sensors were screaming warnings about atmospheric toxicity and dangerous gravitational stress. Ambassador, our suits are reading critical levels of that corrosive oxygen gas, Plix Vor said, his voice tight with worry. The atmospheric density is also much thicker than our calculations predicted. How do the humans survive in this environment? Zethka watched the readings on his display with growing concern. In 43 previous first contacts, he had never encountered a world with such hostile conditions. The oxygen levels alone should have prevented complex life from evolving. Yet somehow humans not only survived but had built a thriving civilization. Perhaps they live in underground cities or sealed habitats, Zethka suggested, though he remembered seeing images of human cities built completely in the open air. We must be prepared for anything. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer and both aliens gasped at what they saw below. Instead of the protective domes they expected, human structures stood exposed to the dangerous atmosphere. Roads and buildings stretched across the landscape without any visible environmental barriers. Most shocking of all, tiny figures moved openly between the buildings with no protective gear. They walk outside, Plix Vor whispered in disbelief. They actually walk around breathing that toxic gas directly into their bodies. At Edwards Air Force Base, Colonel Rick Barnes watched the alien shuttle approach through his binoculars. The craft moved with perfect stability, despite the strong desert winds that would challenge most human pilots. Around him, security teams maintained their positions while trying to look welcoming, rather than threatening. Dr. Amanda Cole stood near the prepared landing zone, checking her notes one final time. As Earth's lead cultural anthropologist, she had spent days preparing for this moment. She wore her best formal dress and carried a prepared speech of welcome in 17 different languages, just in case the aliens' English wasn't as good as it seemed. Colonel, the shuttle is requesting final landing clearance, reported the communications officer. Clear them for landing, Barnes replied, and remind all personnel to stay calm no matter what these aliens look like or how they behave. The Vrelian shuttle touched down with barely a whisper of sound. Its engines shut off completely, leaving an eerie silence across the base. Human personnel held their breath as they waited for the aliens to emerge. Inside the shuttle, Zethka and Plix Vor finished their final equipment checks. Their environmental suits were rated for the most extreme conditions known to galactic civilization. The suits would protect them from the corrosive atmosphere, provide artificial gravity compensation, and filter out any dangerous radiation or biological contaminants. Remember, Zethka told his aide, these humans may appear primitive, but they have achieved faster-than-light communication. They deserve our respect even if their world is uninhabitable. The shuttle's door opened with a soft hiss. The two aliens stepped out carefully, their bulky environmental suits making them look like armored robots. They moved slowly, compensating for the crushing gravity that pressed down on them like an invisible weight. The humans waiting to greet them tried not to stare, but it was difficult. The aliens looked so heavily protected that they might have been preparing to walk on the surface of a star. Dr. Cole stepped forward with her welcoming smile, raising her hand in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Zethka," she said clearly. "We're honored to host you and your aide." Through his suit's speakers, Zethka's voice sounded metallic and distant. "Thank you, Dr. Cole. We appreciate your willingness to meet us in such dangerous conditions. Are you certain it's safe for your people to be outside without protection?" Dr. Cole blinked in confusion. "Dangerous conditions? Ambassador, this is actually a beautiful day. The weather is perfect." Before Zethka could respond, the ground beneath their feet began to shake, not violently but with a steady rolling motion that sent ripples through the concrete landing pad. The aliens immediately activated emergency protocols, their suit systems blaring warnings about seismic activity. "We're under attack," Plixvor shouted, his voice crackling through the suit speakers. "The planet is destabilizing." Colonel Barnes barely looked up from his clipboard. "Just a little earthquake, folks. Probably a 4.2 on the Richter scale. Nothing to worry about." The humans around them continued their conversations as if nothing had happened. Dr. Cole even laughed softly at something one of her assistants said. The shaking lasted about 15 seconds and then stopped completely. "You call that nothing?" Zethka asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "Oh, that was tiny," Dr. Cole replied cheerfully. "You should feel one of our big quakes. We had a 7.1 last year that really got your attention. This little shake was barely worth mentioning." Plixvor's suit readings showed his stress levels spiking to dangerous levels. "Ambassador, these beings live on a world where the ground randomly tries to kill them and they consider it normal." The situation became even more surreal when Dr. Cole offered to show them around the base. As they walked, she pointed out various human activities with casual pride. Soldiers were running laps in the blazing desert sun, sweating heavily but showing no signs of distress. Construction workers operated machinery in the open air, breathing the toxic atmosphere as if it were perfectly normal. "Your people don't wear any protective equipment," Zethka observed, watching a group of mechanics working on a jet engine. "Protective equipment for what?" Dr. Cole asked. "The air? Why would we need protection from air?" "Because oxygen is a highly corrosive gas," Plixvor interjected. "It breaks down organic compounds and causes rapid cellular damage. No civilized species would expose themselves to such concentrations." Dr. Cole stopped walking and stared at the aliens with growing understanding. "You think our air is poisonous?" "Not poisonous," Zethka corrected. "Corrosive. Your atmosphere would dissolve the lung tissue of most galactic species within minutes. How do you survive direct exposure?" "We don't just survive it," Dr. Cole said slowly. "We need it. Humans require oxygen to live. Without it, we die in about 4 minutes." The two aliens stood in stunned silence. In their environmental suits, they looked like space explorers visiting an alien world, which Dr. Cole realized was exactly what they were. The only difference was that to them, Earth wasn't just alien, it was actively hostile to life. Colonel Barnes joined them, carrying a bottle of water. He took a long drink and wiped sweat from his forehead with his bare hand. "Hot day," he commented. "Must be pushing 95 degrees. Good thing you folks have those suits. This heat would probably be uncomfortable for visitors." Plixvor checked his readings. 95 degrees? That's nearly the boiling point of water on most worlds. How are you not dying?" "Dying?" Barnes laughed. "This is just summer weather. You should visit in winter when it gets really cold. Sometimes the temperature drops below freezing, and we have to break ice off our vehicles in the morning." The aliens exchanged looks through their helmet visors. They were beginning to realize that everything they thought they knew about habitable worlds might be completely wrong. Earth wasn't just different from other planets. It was impossible according to every scientific model they understood. As if to emphasize the point, A military jet screamed overhead, moving faster than sound and leaving a thunderous boom in its wake. The humans barely noticed, but the alien suits registered the sonic wave as a potential weapon discharge. Dr. Cole watched their reactions with growing sympathy. These beings had come to welcome humanity into their peaceful galactic community, but they were discovering that humans lived in conditions that would be considered torture by galactic standards. "Ambassador," she said gently, "I think we need to have a much longer conversation about what normal means to different species." The diplomatic center had been built in just 3 days, a rushed construction project designed to house the most important meeting in human history. Commander Steve Rodriguez led the tour while Dr. Nina Powell walked beside the heavily suited aliens, carefully documenting their reactions to everything they encountered. Ambassador Zethka moved slowly through the reinforced corridors, his environmental suit making soft mechanical sounds with each step. The building's air filtration systems worked overtime to maintain what humans considered normal atmosphere, but his suit's sensors still screamed warnings about the dangerous oxygen levels. "This facility was designed with your safety in mind," Commander Rodriguez explained as they walked. "We've installed backup life support systems and emergency decontamination chambers in case your suits malfunction." "You are very thoughtful," Zethka replied, though his voice carried a note of confusion. "However, we must ask, how do your construction workers build such structures while exposed to your planet's hostile environment?" Dr. Powell smiled and pulled up a video on her tablet. "Would you like to see the construction process? We have time-lapse footage of the entire build." The aliens watched in fascination as the video showed dozens of human workers moving freely in the open air. Heavy machinery operated without environmental barriers while people worked side by side, breathing the corrosive atmosphere and moving under the crushing gravity as if it were nothing. "Remarkable," Plix4 whispered. "They show no signs of distress even during the most physically demanding tasks." "Oh, this was actually pretty easy work," Rodriguez said casually. "Most of our guys have worked on much tougher projects, building skyscrapers, deep-sea platforms, Arctic research stations. This desert construction is actually pretty comfortable." They entered the main conference room where Dr. Powell had prepared a presentation about human civilization. She dimmed the lights and activated the holographic display, eager to share humanity's story with their new galactic neighbors. "We thought you might enjoy learning about human history and culture," she began. "Let's start with some of our greatest achievements." The first image showed the pyramids of Egypt, massive stone structures built thousands of years ago. Zethka studied the display with growing amazement as Dr. Powell explained how humans had moved multi-ton blocks of stone, using only primitive tools and manual labor. "Your ancestors built these monuments in desert conditions similar to what we experience today?" he asked. "Actually, the climate was even harsher back then," Dr. Powell replied cheerfully. "And they didn't have air conditioning or modern safety equipment, just human determination and teamwork." The next series of images showed human exploration throughout history. Vikings crossing stormy seas in wooden boats, explorers trekking across frozen continents, mountain climbers scaling impossible peaks. Each image prompted more questions from the increasingly disturbed aliens. "Dr. Powell," Plix4 interrupted during a segment about deep-sea diving, "are you telling us that humans voluntarily descend to crushing ocean depths for research purposes?" "Not just research," she replied. "Some people do it for fun. We call it recreational diving. Here's footage of tourists exploring coral reefs in their spare time." The aliens watched humans swimming freely underwater, breathing from simple tanks of compressed air, surrounded by creatures that would be considered dangerous predators on most worlds. What shocked them most was that the humans seemed to be enjoying themselves. "They appear to be playing," Zethka observed with disbelief. "Swimming and diving are popular hobbies," Dr. Powell confirmed. "Many humans spend their vacations exploring underwater environments." Commander Rodriguez decided to add some context. "We should probably mention that Earth's oceans cover about 70% of our planet's surface. Most human civilizations developed near large bodies of water. You live next to these crushing depths voluntarily?" Plix4 asked. "We don't really think of them as crushing," Rodriguez replied. "Water is essential for human life. We drink it, swim in it, travel across it. Some of our largest cities are built right on the ocean shore." The presentation continued with images of human sports and recreational activities. The aliens watched in growing horror as humans engaged in what could only be described as voluntary combat. Boxing matches showed people deliberately striking each other with their fists. Rugby players crashed into each other at full speed without protective equipment. American football involved armored humans colliding with tremendous force. These activities serve what purpose? Zethka asked weakly. Entertainment mostly, Dr. Powell replied, though many people participate in contact sports for exercise and social bonding. It's quite popular. You injure each other for fun? Plixvor's voice was barely audible through his suit speakers. Well, injuries can happen, Rodriguez admitted, but that's part of the challenge. Overcoming physical obstacles and pushing your limits builds character. The aliens fell silent as the presentation moved to human cuisine. Chef Bobby Martinez had prepared a special welcome dinner, featuring what he considered mild, internationally appealing dishes. The spread included items from around the world: Mexican salsa, Indian curry, Italian pasta with garlic, Chinese stir-fry with ginger, and American barbecue sauce. Dr. Powell proudly displayed the meal on camera. Chef Martinez has prepared a wonderful selection of human foods. We hope you'll be able to join us for dinner once we figure out how to make it safe for your species. The alien suit sensors immediately began analyzing the chemical composition of the foods. Within seconds, every alarm system activated simultaneously. Red warning lights flashed inside their helmets as their computers detected what could only be described as biological weapons. Dr. Powell, Zethka said carefully, our sensors indicate that these substances contain lethal concentrations of various toxins. Capsaicin levels that would cause severe tissue damage, alcohol concentrations that would shut down nervous systems, and sodium chloride quantities that would disrupt cellular function. Toxins? Dr. Powell looked confused. These are just normal foods. The salsa is actually pretty mild. Most humans would consider it bland. Chef Martinez stepped forward with a friendly smile. I kept everything very tame for our guests. No ghost peppers or Carolina Reapers today. Just some basic jalapenos and a little black pepper. You consume these poisons regularly? Plixvor asked. They're not poisons, Martinez laughed. They're ingredients. Spices add flavor to food. Most humans eat much spicier meals than this every day. To demonstrate, Dr. Powell took a generous spoonful of the salsa and ate it without hesitation. The aliens watched their sensors register what should have been a fatal dose of capsaicin being consumed voluntarily by a smiling human. Delicious, she said. Bobby, this is perfect. Not too hot, but enough kick to be interesting. The final straw came when Sergeant Kelly Brooks arrived to brief the aliens about base security procedures. She had just finished leading a routine training exercise and was still wearing her workout clothes, dripping with sweat and breathing heavily. Sorry I'm late, she said cheerfully. We were running combat drills in the desert. Great workout in this heat. Plixvor's environmental suit registered Brooks' elevated heart rate, core temperature, and stress hormone levels. According to every medical standard he knew, she should have been in critical condition requiring immediate medical intervention. Sergeant Brooks, he said urgently, you appear to be suffering from severe physiological distress. Should we call your medical personnel? Distress? Brooks looked confused, then laughed. Oh, you mean because I'm sweaty? No, this is normal after exercise. Actually, I feel great. Nothing like a good run to get your blood pumping. You deliberately stressed your cardiovascular system to dangerous levels, Zethka asked. That's how you get stronger, Brooks explained. You push your body to its limits, then let it recover and adapt. Tomorrow I'll do the same workout, but it'll be a little easier because my body will have improved overnight. You damage yourselves intentionally to become more resilient? Plixvor was now clearly in shock. I wouldn't call it damage, Brooks replied. It's more like controlled stress that triggers positive adaptations. Most humans exercise regularly to maintain their health. As the tour concluded, the aliens requested an emergency private conference. They needed time to process what they had learned about humanity, and frankly, they were beginning to question everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. Dr. Powell and Commander Rodriguez watched them retreat to their shuttle, moving like beings who had just witnessed something that challenged their fundamental understanding of reality. I think, Dr. Powell said quietly, they're starting to realize that humans might be more unusual than anyone expected. The emergency conference aboard the Vrelian ship felt more like a crisis meeting than a diplomatic discussion. Ambassador Zethka had removed his environmental suit for the first time since landing. breathing the carefully filtered air of his vessel, while Plixvor paced nervously around the small cabin. Dr. Rachel Davis and General Carl Hughes joined the meeting via secure hologram from the orbital station New Geneva. Both humans could see the stress on the aliens' faces, though they weren't entirely sure what had caused such a dramatic reaction. "Ambassador," Dr. Davis began carefully, "you requested this private conference with some urgency. Is there something we can do to make your visit more comfortable?" Zethka exchanged a long look with his aide before responding. "Dr. Davis, General Hughes, we need to be completely honest with you about the true purpose of our mission. We have not been entirely forthcoming about our intentions." General Hughes leaned forward in his holographic projection. "What do you mean?" "In our 43 previous first contact missions," Zethka continued, "the Galactic Confederation has always served as the guiding civilization. We offer protection, technology, and membership to species that have recently achieved basic space travel. We expected to do the same with humanity." "That sounds reasonable," Dr. Davis replied. "We're certainly interested in learning from more advanced civilizations." Plixvor stopped pacing and turned to face the hologram projectors. "Dr. Davis, you don't understand. We didn't come here to welcome you as equals. We came to study what we believed was impossible." "Impossible?" General Hughes asked. Zethka activated a display screen showing what appeared to be a complex scientific classification system. "General, every inhabited world in the galaxy is rated according to environmental danger levels. Most civilized species evolved on Class 1 or Class 2 worlds, gentle planets with stable climates, low gravity, and minimal natural disasters." The display showed images of various alien worlds. They looked like paradise planets from human science fiction. Calm blue skies, peaceful landscapes, small, gentle suns providing steady warmth. Everything appeared designed for comfortable, safe living. "Class 3 worlds are considered challenging," Plixvor added. "They might have slightly higher gravity or occasional weather disturbances. Class 4 and 5 worlds are dangerous enough that most species require protective technology to visit them safely." Dr. Davis studied the classification system with growing interest. "Where does Earth rank in your system?" The aliens fell silent for a long moment. Finally, Zethka touched a control and the display changed to show Earth's classification. The number made both humans gasp. "Class 12, Zethka said quietly. "Earth rates as a Class 12 Deathworld." "Deathworld?" General Hughes repeated. "The classification exists because our scientists needed a term for planets so hostile that complex life should not be able to evolve there," Plixvor explained. "Class 6 through 8 worlds are considered uninhabitable. Class 9 through 11 are theoretically possible but have never been found to support intelligent life. Until now," Zethka added. Dr. Davis felt a chill run down her spine. "You're saying Earth is more dangerous than any world you've ever encountered?" "Not just more dangerous," Plixvor replied. "According to our models, Earth should be completely sterile. The oxygen levels alone should prevent any complex organisms from surviving. The gravitational force should crush most life forms. The seismic activity should make stable civilization impossible." The holographic meeting fell silent as the humans absorbed this information. Lieutenant Colonel Gary Peterson and Dr. Helen Morris had joined the discussion from Earth's command center, and both looked stunned by the revelation. "If Earth is so dangerous," Dr. Morris asked, "how do you explain human civilization?" Zethka pulled up another display showing comparative biological data. "That's exactly what we came here to study. Humanity represents a biological impossibility that challenges everything we understand about life in the universe." The screen showed side-by-side comparisons between humans and other galactic species. Human bone density was 3 times higher than the galactic average. Human muscle tissue showed adaptations for extreme stress that other species only achieved through technological enhancement. Human cardiovascular systems were designed to operate under conditions that would kill most aliens. "Your immune systems," Plixvor continued, "are more complex than anything we've ever encountered. Earth's biodiversity exceeds the combined life forms of 12 other inhabited worlds. You've essentially evolved biological armor against a planet that should have killed you millions of years ago." General Hughes leaned back in his chair. "Are you telling us that humans are tougher than other galactic species?" "Tougher is an inadequate term," Zethka replied. "Based on our analysis, the average human could survive unprotected on any Class 1 through Class 4 world indefinitely. Most of our species require environmental suits to visit each other's planets." Dr. Davis pulled up Earth's geological and climate data on her own display. What specifically makes Earth so dangerous compared to other worlds? Where do we begin? Plixvor asked. Your planet's surface is 70% covered by liquid water containing dissolved salts and minerals that would be toxic to most species. Your atmosphere contains free oxygen at concentrations that would dissolve lung tissue. Your gravity is strong enough to crush the bone structure of 42 known species. Your weather systems, Zethka continued, include hurricanes with wind speeds that exceed the atmospheric escape velocity of smaller worlds. Your geological activity produces earthquakes that would level our largest cities. Your magnetic field fluctuates in ways that would disrupt the nervous systems of most galactic species. Lieutenant Colonel Peterson had been quiet during most of the discussion, but now he spoke up. Ambassador, if Earth is so deadly, why did you risk coming here? Because, Zethka replied, humanity's very existence proves that our understanding of life in the universe is fundamentally incomplete. We need to learn how any species could not only survive but thrive in such conditions. Dr. Morris accessed the galactic database that the aliens had shared. I'm looking at your biological profiles for other species. Most of them show adaptations for stable, protected environments. Long lifespans, efficient metabolisms, minimal stress responses. Exactly, Plixvor confirmed. Evolution on safer worlds produces species optimized for peaceful, predictable conditions. Earth's extreme environment forced humans to develop adaptations that we've never seen before. Which brings us to our real concern, Zethka said, his voice becoming more serious. The Galactic Confederation faces a difficult decision about humanity's future. General Hughes sat up straighter. What kind of decision? In 43 previous contacts, we've always been the protective species offering guidance to younger civilizations, Zethka explained. But humanity's natural adaptations make you potentially the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Dangerous how? Dr. Davis asked. Your tolerance for extreme conditions, your problem-solving abilities under stress, your apparent immunity to environmental hazards that would cripple other species, Plixvor listed. From a military perspective, humans could potentially conquer any world in the galaxy simply by walking outside without protection. The humans looked at each other with surprise. They had never thought of their normal abilities as weapons or advantages. To them, surviving on Earth was just everyday life. We're not conquerors, Dr. Davis said firmly. Humans are interested in peaceful cooperation and exploration. We believe that, Zethka replied. Your cultural transmissions suggest a species capable of great cooperation and compassion. But the Confederation must consider all possibilities when dealing with a species that evolved under such extreme conditions. So what happens now? General Hughes asked. Zethka and Plixvor exchanged another long look before the ambassador responded. Now we must return to the Confederation with a report that will fundamentally change how the galaxy views the nature of life itself. And we must recommend how the galaxy should respond to the discovery of a species that makes the impossible look routine. The meeting ended with more questions than answers. But one thing had become clear. Humanity's first contact with the galaxy was unlike anything that had come before, and the consequences would reshape both human and alien understanding of what it meant to be alive in a dangerous universe. 6 months after first contact, everything had changed in ways nobody expected. Captain Michelle Torres stood on the bridge of Earth's newest starship Enterprise, watching the distress signal from the Galactic Confederation flash urgently on her communications display. What had started as humanity joining a peaceful galactic community had become something entirely different. The message was brief, but desperate. Ambassador Zethka's voice carried none of his earlier diplomatic calm as he transmitted from the outer rim of Confederation space. Captain Torres, we require immediate assistance. The Devourers have broken through our defenses at Kellex Prime. Our military commanders request human intervention under the Mutual Defense Treaty. Admiral Chris Thompson materialized as a hologram beside Torres, his expression grim. Michelle, this is the third system the Devourers have attacked this month. The Confederation's conventional tactics aren't working against these machines. Dr. Susan Wright joined the conversation from her position at the science station. Admiral, I've been studying the Devourer attack patterns based on Confederation data. These artificial intelligences adapt to overcome any logical defensive strategy. They learn from each encounter, and develop countermeasures faster than organic minds can respond. Torres nodded as she reviewed the tactical reports. The Devourers were unlike any enemy the galaxy had faced before. They appeared to be self-replicating machines that consumed entire worlds for resources, leaving nothing but empty space behind. Worse, they possessed advanced learning algorithms that made traditional military tactics useless. The Confederation has lost 3 member species already, Thompson continued. Their fleets are being systematically destroyed because the Devourers can predict and counter every standard military maneuver. What makes them think humans can do any better? Torres asked. Dr. Wright pulled up the latest intelligence reports. Because we don't use standard military maneuvers. According to the Confederation's analysis, human tactical thinking is completely irrational by galactic standards. The Enterprise reached the Kellic system within hours, using the new hybrid drive technology that combined human engineering with Confederation science. What they found was a scene of devastating efficiency. Devourer ships moved through space like a plague of metal locusts, systematically dismantling the orbital defenses while ignoring the panicked retreat of Confederation vessels. My God, Torres whispered as she watched the enemy formation. There must be thousands of them. The Devourers had arranged themselves in perfect geometric patterns, each ship precisely positioned to provide maximum firepower coverage while maintaining optimal resource efficiency. Their movements were mathematically perfect, calculating every angle and vector with mechanical precision. Captain, came a transmission from the Confederation flagship. This is Fleet Commander Eric's Tell. We have attempted 17 different defensive strategies. The Devourers adapt to each one within minutes. Our computer models show a 0% probability of victory using conventional tactics. Sergeant Major Tony Rivera had joined the bridge crew as Earth's military liaison. He studied the enemy formation with the eye of someone who had spent decades in combat situations. Captain, these machines are fighting like computers. They are computers, Dr. Wright pointed out. Exactly, Rivera replied with a grin. Which means they're going to have real trouble dealing with humans who fight like crazy people. Torres looked at him questioningly. What do you mean? Every military academy in the galaxy probably teaches the same basic principles, Rivera explained. Protect your command structure, maintain supply lines, retreat when facing superior firepower, preserve your forces for strategic advantage. The Devourers have learned to counter all of those logical responses. So what do you suggest? Rivera's grin widened. We do everything backwards. Instead of protecting our command ship, we use it as bait. Instead of retreating from superior firepower, we charge straight into their strongest position. Instead of preserving forces, we risk everything on tactics that make no logical sense. Admiral Thompson's hologram flickered as he processed this suggestion. Tony, that sounds like suicide. To a computer, yes, Rivera agreed. But humans have been doing suicidal things and surviving them for thousands of years. It's kind of our specialty. Torres made her decision. All ships, this is Captain Torres. We're going to try something the Devourers won't expect. Follow my lead and ignore everything you learned in tactical school. The human fleet broke formation and accelerated directly toward the center of the Devourer armada. Instead of spreading out to minimize damage, they clustered together in what appeared to be a catastrophically vulnerable formation. The Enterprise led the charge, broadcasting its command signals openly instead of maintaining communication security. The Devourers immediately recognized the tactical error and moved to exploit it. Their ships converged on what they calculated was an easy target, preparing to eliminate the human command structure in a single decisive strike. All ships, prepare for ramming speed, Torres ordered. Captain, Dr. Wright said urgently, the Devourers are adapting their formation to counter our approach. They're moving to surround us. Perfect, Rivera replied. Now we spring the trap. At the last possible moment, the human ships scattered in completely random directions. Instead of following any recognizable tactical pattern, each captain made individual decisions based on instinct and experience rather than computer calculations. Some ships dove below the enemy formation, others spun in seemingly chaotic spirals, and a few actually accelerated toward larger enemy vessels with apparent intent to ram them. The Devourer's adaptive programming stuttered as it tried to calculate responses to tactics that violated every principle of self-preservation. Their perfect formation dissolved into confusion as ships repositioned to counter threats that made no logical sense. Human vessel Enterprise. Came an urgent transmission from a Devourer ship. Your current course will result in mutual destruction. Adjust heading to avoid collision. That's the idea, Torres replied, maintaining her collision course. The machine intelligence couldn't compute a response to an enemy that seemed determined to destroy itself in order to inflict damage. When the humans switched to physical ramming attacks, using their ships as guided missiles, the Devourer's programming encountered fatal errors trying to model the psychology of beings who viewed certain death as a tactical option. Lieutenant Colonel Gary Patterson led the follow-up assault with a squadron of fighters that attacked in patterns so erratic they appeared to be malfunctioning. The beauty of human tactics, he explained over the radio, is that we're too stupid to know when we're supposed to give up. The battle turned when the Devourers began making increasingly desperate attempts to understand human behavior. Their learning algorithms became trapped in recursive loops, trying to find logical explanations for illogical actions. Some machines actually shut down completely, overwhelmed by the impossibility of predicting opponents who seemed to operate without regard for their own survival. Colonel Marcus Brown coordinated the final phase of the attack from his command ship. All units maintain maximum aggression. Don't give them time to adapt to our insanity. The victory was complete but costly. Humanity had lost a third of their fleet, but the Devourers were completely eliminated. More importantly, the machine's adaptive programming had been fundamentally broken by exposure to human tactical thinking. In the aftermath, Ambassador Zethka transmitted a formal message to Earth. Admiral Thompson, Dr. Jennifer Hill, the Confederation Council has reached a unanimous decision. We formally request that Earth become our military protector and emergency response specialist. Dr. Catherine Bell, now Earth's chief galactic diplomat, received the proposal with mixed emotions. Ambassador, we accept the responsibility, but only on the condition that we work together as equals. Humans don't want to be the galaxy's warriors. We want to be the galaxy's problem solvers. Agreed, Zethka replied. The Human Expeditionary Corps will be established with full Confederation support. Your mission will be to go wherever the galaxy needs someone crazy enough to attempt the impossible. The final scene showed Colonel Brown and Dr. Hill preparing the first Expeditionary Corps mission briefing. Their assignment was to investigate a black hole that had been behaving strangely, something every other species considered far too dangerous to approach. You know, Dr. Hill said as she reviewed the mission parameters, 6 months ago we were just trying to make a good impression on our new alien neighbors. And now we're the galaxy's emergency response team, Brown replied with a laugh. I guess that's what happens when you're the only species crazy enough to live on a death world. As the Human Expeditionary Corps prepared for their first impossible mission, a new message was transmitted across the galaxy. Dear Confederation members, when you encounter something that seems impossible to survive, call the humans. They're sorry in advance for making it look easy. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, not as conquerors or diplomats, but as the beings willing to go where no sane species would dare to venture. Earth had found its place in the galactic community by being exactly what it had always been, a world where the impossible was just another Tuesday.